Okay, welcome to another Equipment Zone training webinar. I am excited this morning. This is going to be a big deal. We have Terry Combs, of course. Terry, oh my goodness, what a great morning. People are pouring in. Can't wait to get this training started because we have a special guest. It's a big deal, Terry.
It is a big deal. Can't wait to get started as well. This is a huge subject.
Well, the subject and the title of this session is Which Heat Press is Right for Me? And our guest is Aaron Knight. Aaron is a VP of a company called Geo Knight & Co. He has a kind of a famous last name, Terry. I don't know if you noticed that. Go ahead. I jumped over you. I'm sorry.
No. I'll let you continue.
No,
continue with your introduction.
I'm probably off script already, but I'm just excited. That's why. And so, Aaron, we're thrilled to have you. It's an honor. And don't be bashful. Don't act like it's not a big deal to have you here. It is.
Thank you. That's very flattering. The running joke is we require all employees to change their last name to fit the company. So it means less than you think it does.
That's great.
But
no, it's just like the band, the Ramones. They all changed their last name to Ramon.
It worked.
They weren't all Ramones?
They were not.
Well, luckily, this really is Aaron Knight. And Aaron, I have a little intro just because, when we started putting this together, I was thinking about, it seems to me, I don't have quite as many years in this as Terry does, but I'm crossing over 30 years now, a few more than that, but I like to say 30, just so that Terry can really trump me. But it seems to me like the pathway to a successful apparel decoration business starts with like the grind and the desire of the person and an epic heat press. If you have those two things, it seems like a lot of businesses start from that, and then they flower into other things. They go in other directions. They choose other lanes. But it's been my observation that a lot of people get started with a heat press. So that's why
Absolutely.
I think the subject is important, and that we're thrilled to have you here. We know that you're a wealth of knowledge, and Terry has also a wealth of knowledge. I might sprinkle in a few wisecracks, but pretty much I'm just going to moderate and let you two take the show. So thrilled that you're here. I mean, Terry, what more can I say? I probably took away your intro, so I don't know.
No, all good. Well, Aaron, exactly, Aaron Knight. So I think your last name says a lot, but
Terry, he's coming back. He's coming back. We've got internet. Come on, Terry, you can do this. We're both here in Arizona. That's also why we often
take a minute or two to tell us a little bit more.
Oh, there you are. Terry, you had just a small glitch where right when you started to talk, it paused, and then it came back and said, so just take a few minutes, Aaron, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, we lost everything. If you could start over with where you started from, that'd be great.
All right.
I think
welcome, everybody. We're here with let's.
we have a fine editor back in New Jersey who'll take care of all these things for us. But Aaron, as I was saying, your name's Aaron Knight, so that says a lot. Tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. Fifth generation. So the company was started in 1885 by George Knight. That's what Geo Knight stands for, is George Knight Company. It was a shoe company in the shoe industry. Brockton, Massachusetts was about 80% of the country's shoe business within a 30-mile radius. We made the machines and the cutting dies and all that stuff. World War II, we started to transition out of that as everything moved overseas, and we got into heat presses because it was kind of a natural fit to go from shoe pressing machinery to heated presses needed for transfer of different inks and substrates, starting with airbrush artists. Actually, the Carneys got us started airbrushing onto release papers so they could make transfers at their events. And then screen printers started using the same release papers to screen print their designs so that they could control inventory, so they could add the design to whatever garment you picked afterwards. And heat presses were kind of born out of that, and we were right there in the beginning, and we've just been growing in that for the last 50 years or so. But that's kind of how it started. I've been here for 27 years or so, been kind of integral just in the transition from analog, old style machines with the rheostat dial over to digital presses and more digital technology, the tighter fine winding, supercoil micro winding heater technology helped with that. And just, I'm mostly a tech support guy. I make sure all problems go away, which is kind of our focus as a manufacturer. We rely on companies like yourselves to do the selling, and we just make sure we make it perfect and keep it running for decades, not years. That's kind of a standard line, a marketing line is we'll make presses that'll last you the life of your business for decades, not years. And we really have enjoyed a great surge just over the past few years, actually, oddly, during COVID times, in people rejecting disposable equipment and moving more into more durable, reliable goods with service and same-day response and same-day resolution to any concerns. So those are our strong points and kind of where I fit in all of that.
That's an amazing story. I had no idea of the longevity of the business. And I guess that explains how you were able to grab a website like heatpress.com.
Yeah. I was a young and budding little tech boy when I first came in here in 1994. And the domain was available, and we grabbed it quickly, and it's been very good for us.
That's awesome.
Good for you. I love that story, and I love the decades, not years. I love that we make problems go away. That's kind of what Aaron's specialty is. So we've got the right guy for this.
We do relationship counseling and all kinds of psychological.
Oh, you make all problems go away.
Go away.
Wow.
Yeah. No, not at all. Related to technical aspects of printing and heat presses, but thank you for clarifying.
but no credit card consolidation, right?
Yeah, no. We will charge your card. We will charge your card.
Okay. always be closing. There's Aaron Knight trying to get us a special. Well, we're thrilled to have you, as we've said, and this is the we're going to continue to do a lot of training webinars, and heat presses is just such an important part of our process here at Equipment Zone. It seems like there's not a day or week where we don't have a conversation or a chat or somebody isn't asking, even internally, Aaron, not just customers, but just we're talking about heat presses, we're talking about this, what about this style, what about this, or and so even though you would think like there's nothing new, there's always something new. There's always some new technique. There's always something there. So that's why I think we're excited, because you're here. We're going to cover a lot of great information, and we prepared ahead of time some questions. But this webinar series and specifically heat presses, Aaron, if you'll have us again, if we could get you to come back again, we will, and we can probably cover a whole nother webinar. But we did prepare a few things, and we're ready to rock and roll. So Terry,
go ahead.
If you're there, I'm gonna go back and forth, and we do have some questions and some slides, but mostly it's just us. It's the three of us. Then again, if we have some time, we will check the chat. For those of you that are watching, you can chat us a quick comment or a quick question. We appreciate those. I'm trying to monitor
nothing personal on your end. Your prepared questions are probably excellent, but I found that chat questions are usually surprisingly productive and send us in really interesting directions, because your customers are really interesting people that have things they want to do or odd stuff they need to get into, and we can address that. It usually sends us a nice picture. So happy to try that at the end if you have time available.
Could not agree more.
Absolutely, because as you know, Aaron, we get a little close to the situation, and sometimes we assume that we're all on the same page. So that's an excellent point. But you mentioned during COVID having lots of an increase in sales, and assuming because of the surge in home hobbyists, do-it-yourself crafters, bringing a new wave of heat press owners. So here's the question. This comes up all the time, and I know you hear it all the time. With this new demand for heat presses, there are all those low price heat presses on places like Amazon. Tell us, what's the difference in a US built heat press and one of these inexpensive imported heat presses?
Yeah, excellent question and great way to start. The biggest difference is what everyone kind of knows now intuitively, and that is not just that you get what you pay for. So when you see a $400 heat press on Amazon, you immediately think, wow, I'm going to get what I pay for. But there's an overwhelming sentiment from everyone that calls in of never again. I'm tired of buying something over and over again that should be durable goods, that should be, machinery or a tool that I'm using to help my business. And yet I'm buying this tool over and over again. I have no problem buying consumables and disposables over and over again, but not tools. It's very frustrating to keep buying a wrench multiple times and the wrench keeps breaking, and eventually you say, I'm not going to buy that brand anymore. Well, that brand is imports. That brand is Chinese imports. And then with the advent of things coming over with actual deadly pathogens attached to them, it only got worse from there. So there's a lot of sentiment amongst the customer base of I'm sick of junk. It doesn't matter how cheap it is if I'm just throwing the money away and I have to buy it again in 3 to 6 months. And that's what's led a lot of our distributors like yourselves to refer to the Amazon presses as disposable presses. So that's the term everybody refers to it as is disposable. For a little bit more, you're investing in your business to get something that's rugged and built like a brick outhouse, built like a tank, that's going to last an awful, awful long time. But also people, we've found, especially over the past few years, are becoming surprised at normal same-day callbacks and normal quick within an hour responses and resolution by email, and service-oriented manufacturers who don't make and then disappear and you're on your own, but actually immediately respond and insist on same-day response, same-day solutions or resolutions. And that's something is our entire business is make it and then support it. We completely rely on distributors like yourselves to sell, whereas we're really focused on build and support and keep it running. So between those things, most people now really realize if you're paying half, it's because you're getting much less than half, and the half price stuff actually ends up being way too expensive. And so that's something that's very intuitive to our customer base and to just American buyers and Western buyers of equipment in general these days is the cheaper stuff is too expensive. Cheaper stuff costs too much, costs me my business, costs quality, and I keep buying it over and over again, and I lose orders, and on goes the list of expenses that are not included on that low Amazon cost. So that's why U.S. manufacturing it has become, rah-rah, not for political purposes, but really just for, hey, this is much better for me. And this ends up being much cheaper in general because my business is alive instead of getting crushed by bad quality.
Well, and I tell customers and people I talk with all the time that, you've invested in a direct-to-garment machine. You've invested in a pre-treat machine. You've produced this fabulous product. And then you're going to use a cheap heat press, and your customer is not going to be happy because it's not going to wash properly, and you're going to lose business and not know why, because you've decided to cut the corner of the very last step in the process. And along the lines of support, whenever I talk to someone about if they have a question for you, I always say, don't be surprised if someone named Knight doesn't call you back.
Yeah.
And
We've
call you
got
back
a lot of
that
people
day.
building them. Yeah, we've got a lot of people building them, but we focus mainly on take care of everybody and get them resolved quickly. So that's the name of the game these days. Is people it turns out quality doesn't go out of style. Heavier duty is always better, and answer the darn phone. Answer the email and make sure everybody's resolved. So that's our general business model at this point, and it's a great competition with the disposable presses. So that's the biggest difference is the weight of the press is much different. The girth of the press, the heavy steel, not cheap sheet metal, heavy steel welded components, not plastic moldings. And there's a lot of comparison points. But the warranty, we have lifetime warranties on the heaters, 3-year warranty on the digital control, 5-year warranty on the frame. You will find no such thing with the import disposable presses.
I love that. I love that you've got it all nailed down, figured out, and it's a big deal. It makes a big impression, but more importantly, it's like you said, a lasting tool. And why would you compromise on that tool? So we've all been there. We all wish the shortcuts would work. They just don't. And so while you might get 6 months or a year, you're also getting a potential headache. So we support it. Obviously, that's our same philosophy, Aaron. But thank you for sharing that. So I have another question, a little leading into the tech, not too deep, because I can just put kind of my feet in that shallow end of the technical pool. But the second question that we wanted to ask you, it comes from me listening to Terry. Terry has successfully explained to so many people, hundreds of people, that there's a fact that the heating element, though we can feel the heat, we can feel that heat, it's truly a contact heat source. And maybe you could help us better understand what that means and what that concept is.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've never heard anybody really focus on that aspect of it. But the presses are a pressure-based, contact-based technology. So heat pressing is not, there's radiant heat processes where there are many industries that require radiant heat or convection type heat, like powder coating and other types of coating processes that just need a radiant convection type heat. But these processes really do need contact pressure. So the heat platen isn't just a heat source like a heat lamp. You do need actual contact pressure. You do need actual compression of the heat platen against the product, because you have to level the product out. You have to have a uniform leveling of pressure in order to have a uniform leveling of heat. If you don't have uniform pressure, you're actually going to have cold spots. The cold spots aren't in the aluminum platen, but you do get cold spots because you're not getting uniform pressure and contact and therefore heat. So you're heat sinking from the platen into the product, and that requires good pressure. What that leads to on a practical stance is you have to have even pressure on the press. You have to have even pressure on the bottom padding. And if you don't have uniform contact, you're going to have all kinds of light spots or areas that don't cure evenly, or you don't have good compression when the press is pressing. So the word heat press actually is a great description for the two most important aspects of this machine, which is we're not just heating and we're not just pressing, we're actually applying uniform, even pressure and heat into the product, or nothing comes out right.
Well said.
It has
Terry,
to clamp.
Terry, you were right.
Jay's been questioning me for years.
No, that's not what I meant.
Just teasing.
No, I love that. I love that example. Doesn't that make sense the way Aaron says it? I'm going to remember that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's go to the next question. And you've already mentioned this. You mentioned free lifetime tech support, free lifetime warranty on the heat platen. Tell us about the importance of having that lifetime support of the product.
Without it, you're on your own. And with complex equipment, electronic equipment that gets up over 400 degrees, equipment that applies 1,000 pounds of force. I mean, this is really a brutal item where you're expecting to be up to oven type temperatures and exerting hundreds and hundreds of pounds, actually 1,000 pounds of actual clamping force. This is a piece of equipment that gets beat up heavily. It's in shops that are, pressing away on hundreds and thousands of pieces, sometimes a week. So without support, you're on your own. Not everybody is a mechanical engineer, an electrical engineer, and so on. You have to have support. You have to have immediate response. And it's funny, the press, although it's not at all the most expensive piece of all the puzzles out there. I mean, printers are more expensive. All the stuff you guys sell is amazing technology. But even though it is, one of the more inexpensive things, it is really a central hub and a crucial, final work stage where all the physical exertion is happening. And when you have that combined with temperatures and pressures, you need maintenance from time to time. The less maintenance you need, the better, right? Because the less downtime there is, and that's where we come in, near zero maintenance. But when you need it, you just have to have someone to call, and that's the problem with so many brands is you are on your own, and so that's again why they call them disposable. So lifetime free tech support really just means if you own a press, you will actually be responded to. We do not really discriminate between original owner and used owner as much as original owner is where your warranty coverage is, but full support is across the board regardless.
It's a great
and the parts are
policy.
super inexpensive. Yeah, the parts are very inexpensive, very modular design. That's the other beauty of our particular presses is everything's plug and play. The electronics can just, unplug and plug in. Tables pop on and off as interchangeable. You can, peel the pad off and put a new pad on and be right back to new. So everything's very modular in a sense, easily supported.
It's brilliant, and it's that service after the sale mentality that we love. We subscribe to the same thing here at Equipment Zone. It's a big reason why we partner with companies like you, Aaron, and Geo Knight, because we know that you are the expert in that space. You are going to give people a call back. You do have parts. You are, ready and have a team, and that's a huge deal. That's a confidence builder for us. As well as for our customer base. So love it, love it, love it. Couldn't say better things, Aaron. That's the truth.
Thank you.
So the funny thing is I love the fact that you talked about you can have a $25,000 printer, you can have all of these other things, but at the end of the day, if you don't have that, that curing process, all of that was for nothing. All of that is like, so it really does come down to having that important piece of the puzzle. The heat press in most of our customers' businesses as they start up. Terry, wouldn't you say that, they've got to have that heat press? I just don't see people cutting a corn.
Right. Nearly everyone, either they already have a Geo Knight heat press or they're adding to their stable of heat presses. And in my classes, when somebody goes, but that Amazon press, it was only $295. I always say, listen, here's the deal. With a heat press like Geo Knight sells, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, that heat press is still going to be in your shop. When you're selling your business to your kids and you're retiring, they're still using that same heat press. So it is a long-term investment that you're making for, as Aaron says, not a whole lot of money. I mean, comparatively, it's very inexpensive compared to all the other components in the process.
True that. Well, listen, the interesting thing as we transition to the next question is to also think about, 3 years ago, Terry, we would have been making fun of people who are like, you know what? I want to use my DTG printer to make transfers. We would have been like, well, that defeats the whole point of the printer. So fast forward to today, and I think most people know that the popularity of a direct to film transfer has added a tremendous value to their DTG printer, because they're literally opening up new doors. They literally have new products that they can press on. And so these transfers have become critical, Aaron. I know you know a lot about it. So we're doing tons of work with these DTF transfers. We are all in. I happened to make this today on a Geo Knight hat press. Came down early. Terry knows I was getting excited because I was like, I gotta get a new hat. So if this guy can do it, anybody can do it. That's kind of the J test.
We don't pay Jay. We just pay him in trade for hats. He just
headwear.
As many hats as you want to make, Jay.
Well, it's and don't forget, Terry, I've always got my backup. So you have to be prepared in every case. But Aaron, back to the question specifically about DTF transfers. We're seeing this pop up all over, and there seems to be more and more branding opportunities. And one of the things that we've tried to pioneer at Equipment Zone is looking for that other opportunity, that outside of the box thinking. And about 5-6 weeks ago, we started talking about, why are all the neck tags just one color? And so Terry's like, well, traditionally they're screen printed, and then a lot of them are heat pressed. And I was like, yeah, but now that we have DTF, full digital, I mean, we should be promoting that. So we've started to, and it's really taking on, and neck tags and sleeve locations and other locations. So I have kind of a specific question, because you can do it on a full size press, but it seems to me like that DK8T, that smaller one that has the 2 stations, would be perfect for that neck tag application. What would you say, oh great one, of heat presses?
Yes, please buy one. Yeah, it is an excellent solution. Most people get the single station DK8, which is a little more common. But the key is, whether it's the DK8 single or the DK8T twin, that press is called the label press. So it is specifically meant for back of the neck tag labels, as well as, it's used in a lot of different industries for barcoding and other types of logo printing, all the left chest logo. And this is my left chest, you're right. All that type of patch application onto flat surfaces. It's wonderful. And you don't have this huge, 16 by 20 massive heat platen just to press a very small area and make a huge stamp mark, or you can't even locate things right. You have a very isolated heat platen, 6 by 8, but the tables come in smaller sizes, so you can isolate right down to 3 by 3. So you're just applying those type of labels and logos. It's intended exactly for that.
I told you, Terry. See, I got one. Yes.
Well, and Jay's right. There's huge interest in doing those labels, and at the Atlantic City show, we were applying full color logoed labels into shirts, and people were just wowed by it. So look for some more of those DK8 orders coming your way.
Definitely.
Okay, so here's our last official question. We want you to look into your crystal ball, or back in engineering, and tell us what's on the horizon.
That's a great question. You always wonder, have we done it all? I mean, everything anyone's ever thought of, we've actually made, because we never say no to money. So if you come up with some crazy idea, we tend to say yes. If it's really outside of our wheelhouse, we try it and then pass it on if it's really odd. But for the most part, the major trend in small shops is to move from manual to automatic. The automatic presses aren't that much more, but they're just push buttons. So now we call them the marriage savers, the mom and pop shop marriage savers, where they've been bench pressing for a decade or two. And then finally, there's a face-off between the husband and wife mom and pop shop of the T-shirt shop or the garment decorator, and they say, "Boy, this will just make our lives." And we've actually measured it, about 37 to 42% happier with an automatic press. So the key is there's no more blown out shoulders and cancellation of gym memberships. We're pushing a button. We have direct dial-in control of pressure to a single PSI. So you're dialing in exactly that 73 PSI, 85 PSI. And once you set it, regardless of the thickness of your products, you forget it. You set it, and then that's it. You're just pressing a button, and no matter what is in there, it's reaching that specific PSI and pressing, and then releasing automatically. So everything is now push button operated. So I think the biggest direction a lot of places are headed in is they eventually translate from manual to automatic press when they build up the volume. The automatic presses, interestingly, have less wear and tear. The cylinders or airbags that they're using, there's less moving parts, actually, so it's an easier maintenance-wise press to take care of versus a lot of heavy use on manual linkage. So you go from heavy duty to super duty for not much extra in cost, but you're really improving productivity, operator fatigue, and consistency when it comes to that elusive thing called pressure. You're no longer dialing it in and doing it by feel, and you have that little digital gauge showing you 0 to 9. Now you have an actual PSI gauge where you're setting pressure. So that's one of the main things that we see is getting more and more popular, is our air operated presses. We're making them a little more simple to use, a little more versatile with interchangeable tables and sleeve pallets and bag pallets and label pallets and different interchangeable things, so that they are more versatile. Because that's one key is I want to push a button and I want it to do everything right and not have to feel anything out. I don't want to deal with all that. And I'm just getting kind of cranky after doing this for so long, and I'd like to be happier. And so if you want to be happier, you need an automatic press.
Aaron, Jan are both old school decorators, and so predating the auto release option, and as you know, 99.9% of the heat presses that we sell here at Equipment Zone have the auto release. And I always tell people, exactly. Yep. I always tell people, though, if you've been using a heat press without this option, once you get it, you're going to think that you've gone to T-shirt heaven. I mean, your life is going to change substantially.
Yeah, and that's actually the halfway point. That's right. I completely left that out. That auto pop-up is kind of a transition because you're still bringing the handle down and clamping manually. The auto pop-up is wonderful because it's opening automatically, setting your time much more consistently. It's not waiting for you to open it up. But that actually is a halfway step to the eventual, place where a lot of t-shirt decorators go to. So I was kind of at the far end of that spectrum. But you're absolutely right. The auto pop-up is just a way to do that. For about the same cost of a manual press and not spending the extra 800 or so for the air operated, push button version. But yeah, great point. Yep.
Well, I think that that you know as well as anybody who's ever been a decorator that the further away you get from your heat press, the higher the chance of that buzzer to go off to say that it's done. Yeah. So
we
Yep.
can't live without it because we are easily distracted.
Right.
It's like you would think you could just sit there and wait for it, but you can't. You think of something else, you walk away, you're trying to be effective and efficient, you end up being less effective. And so for me, from my standpoint, you can't live without it. Number one recommendation I would give everybody who's starting in a digital garment decoration business is get the auto release or the pop-up model, whatever you call it.
At a very, very nominal add-on cost.
Exactly. And it's on the screen here. That's why we're not trying to, this isn't a sales pitch. We want people to understand the efficiency and the it's literally going to prevent scorching and other, drama. So that's the big reason. We're starting to get a few questions here, but Aaron, I think you'll be happy to know I did want to give you a quick plug here and share your home screen so that people could get a feel for that. USA made heat presses, 135 years. We're proud of the quality. You should be thrilled, beyond proud of the quality. And the fact is that there's more information here and people can learn more. And if they need support, they can go up to your support tab. And so this is why we wanted you here today, is because you're known throughout the industry as one of the leaders, if not the leader, for heat pressing t-shirts and caps and mugs and all of these other accessory items. So
thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
made in the USA matters. We believe in that too. It doesn't mean that you can't have something that was made somewhere else. It's just it's great to know that somebody in Massachusetts is on the other end of the phone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I see some interesting questions from Greg Burgess and Solomon Schwartz. I'd love to.
That's what I was just going to say. Let's get to those next. And why don't we?
For Solomon, quick answer: yes, automatic. When I was referring to it, does mean pneumatic, but really, these things use a little 5-6 gallon California Air Tools silent compressor. Those are the most popular ones. Is the Husky Silent or the Home Depot ones that you find that are silent compressors, so that you can have the compressor right up against your skull running and not be banging away really loud and driving you insane. These silent compressors are wonderful. They're a couple $100. And just a little 5 to 7 gallon compressor is all it takes to run those automatic presses. But yeah, that's what I meant, is it's actually pneumatic and you're pushing a button, it automatically presses and automatically releases. That sound effect I made is extremely accurate.
Aaron, do we have to pay extra for that? Your agent didn't say we were.
It comes with it. It comes with the press and with the me. And so that's on automatic. And then Greg had a great point. So he has a DK7T hat press, a twin station like the DK8 label press you're talking about, but this is for caps. And he was asking about, he has bottom heat. We do make bottom heat for a lot of our presses, most of them, so that you're not scorching the top side, but you're heating from the bottom and drawing the adhesives or the patches or whatever they're pressing in from the back side, so you're not scorching the top. Bottom heat is a very cool, kind of a new thing for the industry. We've been actually doing it for over 10 years. So he has bottom heat, he has the cap press, and he's asking, are there any plans to reshape the bottom heated platen, as they find it to be off on some of the structured caps? Mm-hmm. So this is really interesting. You can't build up bottom heat because then you start blocking the heat and lose the whole purpose of it. And Greg, there's some great tips on that actually you can send us some pictures of your application of the bottom heat, and we can actually make tips on what we need to do to adjust. But in short, there's all these crazy structured hats happening out there right now. And what we're finding is with the cold bottom tables, you can shave the rubber a little bit on the edges, just, like with a little sanding block or a sanding grinder or something to make the shape actually a little tighter, fit up into those tight structured low profile hats. Not the one you're wearing, Jay.
Yeah.
Here, I'll point to you this way. But the tighter structured ones are the real problem. So that you can do with cold tables. With the bottom heat, the same thing is done, but you have to remove the Teflon wrap, and the heat conductive padding is what you can actually shave at the sides. You can actually take a little bit of the very soft aluminum casting down just so that you're fitting tighter up into those very, very tight fit spots. We're very familiar with that, and just a little bit of adjustment, but you have to take that Teflon wrap off of the bottom heat. Greg knows what I'm talking about. Send pictures, and we'd love to take a look at that, and then we can kind of weigh in on what's happening there. I assume with the smaller structured hats, you're getting a little creasing or wrinkling where the space is in the middle.
Yep.
That's how we taper the outside edges so we can fit up into that hat better. It is doable on the bottom heat, and we can walk you through it. Anyway.
Love that. Sounds like Greg has a date with Aaron in future time. So
me and Greg are going to be have a bromance. It's Greg. It's Aaron at heatpress.com. AARON at heatpress.com. In fact,
Awesome.
I can type.
I was going to
And,
say, if you weren't, I was just about to. Thank you. That's great. People can. That's one of the
we'll
benefits.
take a look at it.
Love that. I'm a big headwear guy. That is a big issue. Is to avoid that, and because of production. You don't want to be wrestling with the hat and spending 15 minutes trying to hold the hat just the right way to avoid those wrinkles, and you don't want to hit those creases. So,
well, Jay, and we were talking earlier about the DTF transfers, and we sell a hat platen where you flatten the hat and put it into an F2100 or an F3070, but for the price of the hat platen, you can buy a hat heat press and then do almost any kind of hat. So it really opened the door for that marketplace. And as an old screen printer who used to screen print hats, and a lot of screen printers don't because it's difficult to do. This is an opportunity for DTG folks to open up a whole new marketplace and find a guy like Jay who's going to come into your shop twice a week to get a new hat.
That's right. That's right. Hey, what have you got that's new? New styles, new colors, new graphics. It never ends. But the reality there is that it's also a nice accessory and it complements all of the other work. So in the world of transfers, if I have a DTG printer and I'm going to also make some transfers, why wouldn't I create some USA flags or some Canada flags? Not as many Canada flags, but you know what I mean. But something that's going to be a nice little touch, a nice little extra, a nice little add-on, and print a sheet of those and surprise my client with a hat or two or three, one with an American flag, one with their own logo, because I just did it on their neck tag or their left chest or something, and then something fun, something different, something timely, like I love tacos. So I'd have a taco hat or something. I just think that having that heat press, having that cap press really does open up new doors for you. So that's just my personal press. I'm not trying to sell hat presses today, but I do think highly of them, and they're just so versatile. Looks like we've got another great, this is kind of long here. So do you see this one, Aaron?
I'll go ahead and I'll wrap that up quickly, concisely. So Solomon Schwartz is asking, he bought a large press from China for 20%, 25% of the cost of a large format that we make. Totally understand that. It's great to get started and get your feet wet that way at least. They're printing floor mats, and they're really disappointed and we get this call all the time, that the colors are not at all printing well at the four sides, just in the center, and the black ink is, going a little green. It's a sublimation issue, and it's a large format printing issue when you have very uneven heating on the platens. So it's very common with the overseas presses that you're buying this size, but you're actually only able to use this size. And so he's asking, is that the same with the U.S.-made heat presses? And the answer is absolutely not. So we put a lot of work into watt density calculations and working with our heater manufacturers to make sure that we're not going cool at the edges. For example, our 44 by 64 press, we suggest a few inches of overlap just so you're overlapping with temperature and getting really good full bleed printing. And that's the key, is full bleed onto your product. So with a 4464, we're guaranteeing that you'll get a full 40 by 60 metal panel. So actually printing metals like the sheet back here.
I see. Yeah.
Yep. So you only have just a 1 inch or 2 inch border around the edge, and we're guaranteeing that. When we send out the test prints onto fabric, we're actually printing the transfer right off the edge of the platen and getting even uniform color right off the edges and the corners. But we want you to stay in just an inch or two within that. So a 40 by 60 live area, to expect that on a 44 by 64 heat press, so you have good full bleed overlap, is very reasonable. On a 32 by 42, it's actually 30 by 40. So again, just a 1 inch margin around for the smaller one, a 2 inch margin around for the bigger ones. Very, very uniform and printing right out to the edges. It's a big contrast to the lower cost presses, which is why we enjoyed one of our largest years in large format printing last year. Oddly, it's just everyone kind of giving up on the overseas large format stuff and going with ours, and we keep it running forever.
You touched on that earlier, Aaron, and I think it's not just a fad, it's a trend. And I think that people are ready to invest in the right equipment, the right tool, and they want it to last, like you said. So they've tried something, they got inconsistent results, or even worse, they just got terrible results. So they can't run their business that way. And so they need that vendor, and they need that technology that's built in, so they get near edge to edge consistency. And so we've seen it too. We've seen a lot of people who come back, and Terry, correct me if I'm wrong, but they say, yeah, I tried that X brand and I should never have bought it. I should have come with you guys from the first get-go.
All the time. And with DTG printing, the heat press is critical. With sublimation printing, the right pressure and the right temperature is 10 times more critical. So, I think what we're seeing here too is we're in a lot of trade shows over the last 2 years. So people started businesses based on YouTube videos, and now they're taking a step back going, okay, I still want to do this, but now I need to do it right. And so I need to go out and get the proper equipment to make this a success. And
yeah, I gotta say, it's interesting. We're a little bit torn. The startup, get your feet wet, low cost presses, even in large format, seem to have put a lot more people into the business that might not have entered at a full tier, full high end piece of equipment like ours. But it gets them dependent, and they're able to, achieve at least a degree of, hey, this is going to work for me as a business, that this equipment isn't going to work for me for my business. But it actually gets a lot of people into it that might not have gone into it straight into the high-end equipment. So we're a little bit mixed, where we kind of like the starter crafty stuff. There's a lot of crafter markets out there, and people, that would never ever just start a business in t-shirt printing, but they do start crafting, and they're very artsy, and all of a sudden they're on Etsy, and they're on, selling things online, and they like, okay, now I'm going to get rid of my my piece of junk that I know is not that great. So
yes,
we kind of like it. Yeah, we kind of like it. We don't want to say that out loud, so don't publish this everywhere. Oh, too late. But it's not all bad. A starter press is good to get started and get people into things that would otherwise not, and that leads them straight into our arms, which are wide open and lovingly ready to accept.
That's right. We will embrace them. But that's realistic, and it's okay that people they all start at zero, and if they are crafters or hobbyists or DIY, or they want to do a little home project, and that's fine. That's really why that market exists. And somebody a lot wiser than me many years ago said, little stitchers become bigger stitchers, little printers become bigger printers. So there's a certain demographic that falls in love with this. They literally fall in love with the idea, and they continue their progression into investing in better equipment that's going to yield them a better product. So
the term little stitchers, I mean, that's just really adorable. So that's like, I wish I were a little stitcher.
Anyway, you could be a little presser, and then they turn into
a little presser.
Doesn't sound the same.
Not the same. Yeah.
It's not as cute. You're right. It's not as cute. Well, we're wrapping this up. We've got a few things. Somebody has a quick question before we end. I do want to share my screen because we do want to make sure that people know that for details and pricing, they can obviously visit our website. We have really the entire line, almost the entire line. There are some specialty things that Geo Knight does that we don't carry on our website. But if you have a question and if we need to get Aaron or someone on his team involved in the conversation, we do it often. We'd be happy to do it with you. Best heat press machines on the planet in our estimation. Sorry, we're a little biased and we're going to tell you up front, but it's really based on the quality and it's based on the experience and the relationship that we have. So with you, Aaron, and the rest of your team, kudos to you. It's been a great run, and we hope we get more decades ahead of us, and so we can continue this relationship, and our customers can continue to have excellent experiences. So this is why we also wanted to have you on, was a way for us to say thank you. And don't forget, like Geo Knight, you're welcome. Like Aaron has said, we are also a click away. We're a phone call away. I had a great conversation with Harry, the owner of our company, yesterday. He said, we know we're not perfect, but we'd like to believe we're 99% perfect. And every now and then when we drop the ball, we're going to be perfect in making it up to you. So it makes a lot of sense. We do get sick or distracted or we drop a ball, but we're going to make it right. We're a click away, and we love that relationship and that same feeling with you and with your team. So let me check before we wrap up. Were there any other quick questions or chats, or Terry, anything that you want to end on here? As I'm scanning, I don't see anything new.
No, I think you've said it all. We certainly appreciate, Aaron, you coming on, and it's always great to be able to sell a product that you have complete confidence in, and we at Equipment Zone certainly have complete confidence in you and the Geo Knight product.
Great, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Indeed, we do. So then I'll just wrap up by saying thanks again. For those of you who are not aware, if you do have if you purchased your F2100 or your F3070 Epson DTG printers from someone other than Terry or Amy or Tim, if you were I don't want to say unfortunate, that's not the right way to say it, Terry, if somehow we missed you and yet you still need that extra layer of help and training and support, or maybe you hired a new operator, or maybe you're just ready for better training, that is available now. So visit our website. We're happy to walk you through that. We have a studio here in Arizona. We have even a bigger production center and studio in New Jersey. We'll be thrilled to give you that. It is paid training. Obviously, that's included when you buy it from us. But a lot of folks have found out, the internet occasionally is correct, Terry, in that our training is awesome. So word got out. So we now have that opportunity for people to buy paid training. And this exact, I'll end on this, because this exact webinar will be added in the next 24 to 48 hours on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to that channel if you haven't already. If you're new to this game, this helps us provide more training for you. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel and then hit that little notification bell. So every time we publish something new, you'll automatically get a notification that Equipment Zone has a new training video, and we have hundreds of them. Literally hundreds specifically dedicated to DTG. Now we have a few that are specifically dedicated to heat presses. And thanks again to Aaron and his team, and Aaron for joining us today. Terry, that's all I've got. Why don't you take us home and tell people where they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. Reach out to us at equipmentzone.com. And just like Geo Knight, if you bought your machine from someone else, we do offer you free support. If it's an F2100 or an F3070, you can reach out to our sales team right here, Terry at Equipment Zone, Amy.K, and Tim.A at Equipment Zone. And we are happy to answer any questions you might have.
Great. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Again, thank you, Aaron, for your time. Until we see you, we will do our best to make sure our customers know more about these great heat presses.
Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate the time.
You're welcome. Okay, bye-bye, everybody. Take care.